Hi, everyone. My name is Jennifer Blank, and I'm a Director of Alumni Engagement here at Regis University. And I'm pleased to welcome you to the Office of Alumni Engagement's November webinar. Before we move into the presentation itself, I wanted to take a minute to explain how this webinar will flow. After this brief introduction, we will move into a 30-minute presentation. Afterwards, there will be a question and answer session for the remainder of the hour. Attendees will be muted the entire time, and the chat feature is also disabled so I don't miss anything. If you have a question, I will definitely encourage questions. Please submit it using the questions and answers function at any time. I will be reviewing the questions throughout the session and moderating the Q&A with the presenter by asking your questions. This webinar is being recorded and will be posted on the Regis University Alumni Association YouTube channel. Tomorrow you will receive a follow-up email with a link to the channel as well as some additional information. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our presenter, Sarah Smith. Sarah is Assistant Director at Regis's Center for Career and Professional Development and a licensed professional counselor in the state of Colorado. Prior to Regis, she worked as a career development specialist and therapist for a range of organizations. She has a master's degree in counseling and human services and a bachelor's degree in psychology. Today, Sarah will generously share her knowledge and experience with us, including lots of strategies, tips, and resources to help minimize stress while searching for a new job. In fact, she has a 5-step model she will share. Within that, she will offer ways to create structure, keep your job search momentum going, and what you can do to prevent stress from overwhelming you during a job search. So, thank you, Sarah, for sharing your expertise with us. Now, without further ado, Sarah Smith.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining me to learn more about reducing stress while job searching. I have been through this process myself several times, and I know the toll that it can take on one person. So here are 5 takeaways I have for you during this webinar today. I want you to be able to identify sources of stress during this process, learn how to manage your time, implement goals through the job search process, learn resources that are available to you, and then we're going to practice creating stress-reducing practices. The #1 cause of stress in the United States is job-related. Whether it's stress from your current job or anxiety you experience during job search, stress is holding professionals everywhere back from having some peace of mind in their careers. So I think it's important to identify what are your needs? Where are you at this point during this process? Everyone is going to be at a different part in this process or experiencing something different. And so it's important to identify what are your needs. Are you employed and looking for the next level in your job? Are you employed but looking for something different? Are you employed and looking for something that is similar to your current job or your previous job? Are you unemployed and searching for a career switch? Or are you unsure of what you want or what you need? So after you've identified, where you're at or what you need in this process, it's also important to identify the source of stress. What is causing you stress? I have a few questions to ask you to help reflect on where you're currently at. Do you know what you need or want for your next job? Do you know your strengths? Do you feel confident about your application materials, such as a resume or a cover letter? Do you know where to search? How do you feel about interviews? How do you feel about panel interviews? Oh, sorry about that, guys. Do you know where to search? Do you know where to begin? Do you know where to job search? Are you tired of this process? Have you been doing it for so long you just can't go on with it any longer? So as you ask yourself these questions and are able to identify, what is exactly causing you stress, then we need to take it one step further and think about how is it affecting you. Stress impacts us all in different ways. Stress definitely has an impact on our bodies. For me personally, I will feel stress in my shoulders. They get really heavy, really tight. I can actually feel them come forward. And I feel like I have a 1-ton weight holding my head, my shoulders, and all of that up. And so if I can identify that, there's some things that I can do to try to release that stress from my shoulders. But that's one example of how stress can impact our bodies. Stress can cause mental and physical side effects. So you might see that with your behavior or food. Sometimes when I get stressed, I definitely eat more and or eat less depending from my normal routine. And I also think that stress can change your motivation and your attitude. So maybe asking friends or your support system of, have you noticed any differences? So it's important to identify what is causing you stress. For each person, it will be different. And if you can identify the cause, then we can go ahead and move forward to the next step. So our next step in the model is creating structure. And so creating structure will help you through this process. It will help you know what you need to be doing, stay organized, and keeping a routine in order to help keep the stress at a minimum. And so I have a few tips for you during this part of the model. So make job searching your job. I truly believe that job searching is a full-time job, so treat it like one. Depending on your situation, make this your full-time job and or your part-time job. Find a place where you are most productive while you're job searching. And so maybe it's in a room in your house, maybe it's at a coffee shop, maybe it's at the library. I know for me, I need a quiet place. I need an upright chair and a desk. I wouldn't be able to sit on my couch with my laptop with a cup of coffee. I won't be productive. So try to learn and identify that for yourself and implement those into this everyday routine that we're trying to create. Another part of this step in creating structure is set aside those hours. So as I mentioned, make this your job. So it's important to set aside hours to do the job searching. And so whether it is your full-time or your part-time job, setting aside those times and creating a routine. Create a routine that works for you. And so for me, I'm a morning person. What would be best for me is get up 8 o'clock, have my cup of coffee, and jump right in at 8:30 to job searching. Work for a few hours, have some lunch, and then work for a few more hours. So creating that routine of when you're doing it, where you're doing it, and keep that every single day is going to really help you stay on track with what your goal is. Have those set work hours, and then also continue other routine habits during this time. So make sure you're continuing to eat at a set time. Make sure that you're still getting 8 hours of sleep, that you're seeing friends, family, and anything else that you might do. So going to church or playing some sports or going for walks. Make sure you're continuing your routine. And then another part that is really important is knowing your job timeline. So are you trying to find a job in 1 hour, or are you trying to, 1 month, or are you trying to, having some technical difficulties here. So know your job timeline. So are you trying to get a job in 1 month, or are you trying to get a job in 6 months, or is it a year? So knowing your timeline will help you stay on track. Another part of creating structure is staying organized. So find what tips work for you. And so save your documents and applications appropriately. I always recommend saving with your name and the job and or organization that you're applying to. So Sarah Smith, Regis University. This way it's going to help you really stay organized with all of the jobs that you will be applying to. Another pro tip that I have for you is track when you have done anything. So track when you've had meetups, track when you've actually applied somewhere, track when you followed up with a person of interest, track when you've interviewed, set a thank you note, all of that. I use a calendar. In the past, like I mentioned, I have been through this process before, so it's helped me to make little notes on a calendar when I was going through this process. And finally, utilize a to-do list. I am a master to-do list person. If they had a certification for that, I think I would be the first person to sign up for it. I make a to-do list every single morning of what I need to do for that day, but I also make a to-do list for the week. So what are the larger items that I'm trying to get done? That's what I put down on my to-do list for the week. And then I have a smaller one that I do each day. And I put smaller items on that, and I put things that I know that I can do, and then things that I'm reaching for. I also put those daily routine items on there as well. So literally I would put, step 1, have a cup of coffee. Step 2, search for job. Search for 3 jobs today. And so those would be on my to-do list: eat lunch, go to grocery store. And so I really love the ones that I know I can cross off, and when I get to cross that off, I feel really productive. So I do strongly recommend making a to-do list, and as easy as get a cup of coffee in there. Once you can cross that off, you know that you're going to get to the next one as well. Also, a tip that I have for to-do lists is put things in order of how you'd like to get them done. And then you can kind of just follow down that list. So my final tip for creating structure during this process is also create breaks. So as I mentioned about creating those to-do lists, I also would put in there when I'm going to take a break. It's important to step away from what you're doing. Your mind needs a break, your eyes need a break. And so if you allow yourself to take that time to step away, you're going to be more productive when you come back to this job search process. So take that time for you, figure out what that is that you might need. So maybe it's taking a walk around the block, maybe it's going to a coffee shop, maybe it's doing a load of laundry, maybe it's cooking a meal for yourself. And then I have, if you need to take a vacation, take it. And I have vacation in a quote, so that literally can mean, go to Hawaii if you need it. But if you need to take a week off from job searching because you're feeling too much pressure, too much stress on yourself, take time away from it. You do not want to push yourself too far that you'll create burnout on yourself. And we want to avoid that. We want to help keep you staying positive and motivated to go through this whole entire process. Okay, so our next step in next step in the model is to set goals. And so we want to set goals that we call SMART goals, and that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. If we set goals that hit these qualifications, it's going to help you reduce stress by keeping you focused, keeping your eye on the prize, and just step by step you can get to your end goal, which we do want that long-term goal. So setting that you're trying to get a marketing position at a larger firm in the next 6 months. And so setting that larger goal is going to be really helpful, and obviously that's what we want to work towards. But it's also going to be really helpful to write and think about what are your short-term goals. So maybe that's that you're going to apply to 3 jobs per week at this type of firm or this level of an organization. Maybe it's that you're going to reach out to 5 people per week to set up informational interviews or coffee meetups in order to learn more about what they do and who they work for. So setting those smaller goals that will help you keep going every single day are going to be really important during this process. And I think if you can write smaller goals and attain those, it's going to keep you going because you're going to be able to keep going. Check, 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 I did that. It's going to help keep you on task. So by the end of this presentation, I'd like you to reflect and be able to write down one smaller goal, one SMART goal that you have for yourself. As we think about setting goals, we want to think about what are your expectations? What do you need for this process? What do you think about this process? Do you need to get a job immediately? What's your time frame? You want to be able to ask yourself, are your expectations realistic? Are you going for a job that you're qualified for? Are you are you reaching for places that have the same values that you have? And so we want to make sure that you are asking yourself, are your expectations realistic in this process? If they're not, you're going to continue to get stressed out because you're not meeting those expectations. So again, we want to be setting those expectations ahead of time so that we're setting yourself up for success. We also want to be asking yourself, what are your needs? And so I ask you to reflect on what is that? Are you looking for a job or are you looking for your next career? Are you looking for a certain salary? Do you have to meet a certain salary requirement in order to live? Are you looking for flexibility in a job? Are you looking for variety? These are just a few values, a few things that might be necessary in order for you to access that next job. And so we want you to feel that happiness at work, and so identifying what these expectations and needs are will help reduce the stress as you're going through this process. Oh, sorry, one more. So different location or hours, is that important to you? So our fourth step is once we've set those goals, we want to figure out how to reduce stress as you're going through this process. Actual stress reducing exercises. So everything we've talked about up to this point are ways that we're hoping are going to help you minimize stress, but you are still going to experience some stress during this process. So we want to talk about ways to reduce that and exercises and activities that you can actually practice while you're going through this. So my pro tips here are find what works for you. I'm going to give a variety of options for you, but not all of them will work for everyone. So, try different things and figure out what it is for you. And so I do recommend trying different things. I also would recommend trying things more than once. I tried a yoga class a few years ago because somebody had recommended that to me, and I absolutely hated it. I could not get my mind free and calm and everything that yoga is supposed to do. But I tried it about 8 more times. I kept with it. And it was about on the 9th or 10th class that I was finally able to truly breathe and breathe with my movement and allow my mind to be free of thoughts. And I saw how it was able to be helpful. So don't give up. Keep trying different things. Another tip I have is to walk away when you need to. So if you are feeling stressed, as I had mentioned before, take that little vacation, step away from everything you're doing. Try to stay positive. Is there a motto that you can say to yourself? I write little post-it notes with quotes on it to help keep myself upbeat and going through the process. And finally, as hard as it may be, practice patience. This is a long process. As I mentioned, I've been through it, and there are ups and downs, and it can be a roller coaster, but really practicing patience, because it might be, you apply 6 to 60 jobs, and it might be on that 61st job that you apply to that you get a call back or you get that interview. So keep practicing patience as you go through this. So what I want to help give you is some actual activities and strategies that you can employ while you are job searching. So as you are going through, actively job searching, what can you do in the moment? So one idea I have for you is to stand up, stretch. Let's all do it right now. Everyone, let's get up. Reach for those stars. Go ahead and reach a little bit to the right. Go to the left. Let your hands go down. A deep inhale up. Reach for those stars. Roll your shoulders back. Sometimes just doing that every hour might be really helpful for you, and just let those nerves, let those stress, let that anxiety kind of just all out as you're inhaling up and down. Another activity that you might be able to do is just count to 10. Sit back in your chair, count up to 10, breathing, and then back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maybe putting on music. Some people might want some fast, upbeat music. Some people might need some relaxing classical music. So find what works for you, what will reduce stress for you. Call a friend or a family member. I know when I'm stressed out, I call my mom. She's going to help set me straight. She's going to help pump me up. And finally, maybe practice some mindful breathing. And so we can just do a few of those right now so that you can see what that might look like. So when I do this, I try to shut my lights out, or at least get kind of like a darker room, but I might be at my computer. Let's go ahead and put your feet flat on the floor. Sit back in your chair. And let's take a deep inhale all together for 5 seconds. And exhale for 5 seconds. Let's do it again. Inhale for a slow 5 seconds. Exhale for 5. If you do this for a couple minutes at a time and are able to step away and really just practice the breathing, feel your stomach, feel that air fill your stomach, your chest fill up. It really is a good stress reducing exercise for you that you can do while you're sitting at your computer. I also want to talk about stress reducing exercises that you can do part of your routine, but away from your computer. Maybe it takes a larger amount of time, so we want to set that into your schedule. And so a few of those might be exercising. Do you run? Do you walk? Do you like to lift? Do you play basketball? Setting aside time for you to do that is going to be extremely important during this process. Maybe it's getting outside, hiking, biking, camping. So set aside that time for that. Maybe you enjoy, going to a 2-hour movie, getting away from everything, getting out of your house. Maybe it's going to a coffee shop or a concert. And then I do strongly recommend, a meditation or a yoga. These are just a few ideas that I have. I'm going to give you 1 second to maybe think about, do you have something different to offer? What would work for you for maybe about an hour a day? So finally, our 5th step in the model is to know your resources. If you know your resources and you know who's out there, this will ultimately reduce stress because you've got other people to rely on. It's very important to know that you're not alone in this process, and there are a lot of resources out there to help you. And so the number one resource that I have to offer to you is the Center for Career and Professional Development, and that is where I work. But as alumni, you all have access to the Center for Career and Professional Development. We offer services to alumni for free and forever, no matter where you are located. And so we conduct in-person appointments, phone appointments, and Skype appointments. So we're able to serve clients across the world. So some resources that are available to you that might be of interest. So we do resume and cover letter reviews. We can practice mock interviews. We have assessments and can talk about, what's your personality, what are your skills, what are your strengths, and what does that look like going forward in this job search process. We have job search resources, so we have a lot of job searching tips and techniques and software programs that we pay for that are available to you for free. You just have to contact us for an appointment. We can offer help on networking, LinkedIn setup. This is just a small handful of the resources that you have, again, as alumni at Regis University. So definitely utilize us. You can contact us at 303-458-3508, or you can go online to regis.edu/CCPD and see other resources. A few other resources that I have for you that you should know about are workforce centers. So no matter where you live, especially if you are in the United States, there are going to be workforce centers in most counties, if not definitely larger cities. And so here in Denver, we have Denver County, Jefferson County workforce centers, Douglas County. And like I said, they are across the United States. So you would be able to access these, and they offer help with job searching, and they have different workshops and appointments as well. Another key resource is know who's in your network and start networking. And so being able to reach out to family, friends, old coworkers, current coworkers, and sending invitations, emails to do an informational interview, or just getting a coffee, a meeting to learn more about what they do or who they know, and just continue networking. Most jobs are actually gained through networking. 75% of jobs are never posted online. They are accessed through who do you know. So really don't place too much value on job applications, and place more value on networking. Reach out to any mentors that you have, or if you don't have any, think about who could be a mentor, and they will be able to help you through this process. Utilize your support systems as much as you can. So know who is in your support system. Are they able to help you through this process? Maybe it's just, again, that it's somebody that you call to talk to. And so utilize them as much as you can. And the last resource that I have for you is professional associations. A lot of industries out there have conferences and associations that you can join. So for example, for me, I'm a part of the National Career Development Association, and I can go online. There's a lot of resources on their website that I can use. I go to their national conference, and so that continues to help me know hiring trends and stay up to date on the practices of career development. So I want to wrap up. This is a 5-step model that I have presented to you all today. I think that if you keep things in mind and some of the tips that I gave you, hopefully you've learned some strategies to reduce stress as you go through this job search process. But again, I want you to think about identifying sources of stress is step number 1. Then we can flow into managing your time and creating that structure. 3, set goals for yourself to keep you on task. Know your resources and utilize exercises and activities to reduce that stress. So I want to thank you all for your time today. I hope that you were able to reflect on where you're at in this process, a goal that you would like to set, and at least one activity, one exercise that you can implement today to reduce stress. So what questions do you have for me?
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. It is now time for our question and answer session. So please, everyone, submit. There's a Q&A. Hopefully you see that there. And earlier someone said there was some sound issues when I was introducing Sarah at the beginning, so I apologize for that. Hopefully people can hear me okay now. The first, Sarah, on the resources slide that you presented for the career office, one of the bullets was career management. Can you talk a little bit about the resources, what that would look like with career management, and what people could get from you related to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So career management is really a really broad general category of an appointment that we have for our students or our clients. So it can look like somebody who just recently lost their job. They have all these skills that they've gained over 10 years of work experience. But they decided to take this opportunity to that this was a sign, and that they want to switch jobs. They want to switch industries, and so then we spend some time talking about what those skills are. What do they need to be looking for? How can they leverage those skills? And just working through that process with them. Another piece would just be, somebody is in an entry-level position and they're looking to get into a management position. So again, how can we help them learn about themselves in order to move to that next step?
Great, thank you. Now, earlier you talked about making lists, and are there sometimes when people make lists, they almost get overwhelming. So just wondering if you could talk a little bit about how to make those lists not so overwhelming.
Absolutely. So I think everybody's going to be at a different level or ability to a capacity of lists. So don't make a super long list. No, again, I set myself up for success. So I maybe only put 5 to 8 things on that list. And if I know I'm not going to get it done, I don't necessarily put it on there. So it's finding a balance of things that you need to get done, but not putting the impossible on there. And so, I know for me right now, just, I implement this every day, even at work, but I have a presentation that I need to create for January. Somebody just asked me to do a presentation in January. So I know this is something I need to work on, but I'm not going to put that on my to-do list today because there's no way I'm going to get that done today. And so kind of being able to balance what can you handle. So thinking about those realistic expectations, but also wanting to push yourself to reach some of these tasks and goals that you have set yourself for the day. So finding balance, I think, is important.
Great, thank you. Next question is, what websites do you recommend for searching for jobs? What your broad, big websites that you think are really helpful, and are there any kind of current, trendy, or go-to sites that you would recommend?
Yeah, I don't have anything specific to mention during this webinar right now, just because there are so many and it really depends on what industry you're looking for. So honestly, I feel, if people who are listening to this webinar would set up an appointment for that job search category, we would talk with them of what they're looking for, what are their needs, and we'd be able to give them a handful of really good resources, good job searching websites that we feel are most productive and helpful during this process. We have 2 here at Regis that we recommend most, which just so somebody can take this away, I would say it's Career Link, which we are slowly going to be getting away from in the next year and moving into Handshake, but it's still a job search platform. And then the second, which is my favorite, it's called Career Shift. And again, as alumni, they would have access to both of these.
Yeah, so can you talk very briefly, because I think it's good for people to know about the move to Handshake. Can you talk a little bit about what Handshake might offer and then Career Shift?
Sure. So Handshake is going to be our new career services platform. And so it's how we, in our office, track appointments, track events. But the biggest piece to you guys would be this is where we are posting our jobs. So employers that contact us saying, hey, we have a entry-level marketing position, can we post that? We love Regis students. Then, we make sure that it's a good company and a good position for our students, and then we post it. And so you would have access to this job board through Handshake. And Handshake, the benefit of Handshake and why we're moving towards it is it allows employers to post positions at all schools. So maybe we have an accounting position with PricewaterhouseCooper, and they're posting for CU and CU Denver and Regis. And so it's easier for the employer, but through that, it opens the job market up, the job postings to you as well. And so we're going to go from maybe 1,000 jobs a month posted to 10,000 jobs. So it's really going to be a great, bigger and better resource for our clients here. And then Career Shift is another job search tool that we actually pay for the licensing for our clients to have for free. And they get an account, and you actually can search jobs. So it is a national, it's not international, but it is a national job search tool where it aggregates and pulls together all jobs posted so that you're not having to search 5 different, Indeed and different hospital websites and all that. It will aggregate all of them together. You can save searches, you can save jobs that you find, you can save contacts. So let's say that you do find that you're looking to work for Colorado Children's Hospital. And so you look that up, you can actually find people who work there. So if you're not necessarily looking to job search, you can definitely look up contacts and again, start networking. And so we find this to be a very beneficial job search resource.
Thank you. And just, I know in your example for Handshake that you talked about students, but definitely also a place for alumni to find jobs.
That's correct. This would be available to all of our students, alumni, who we consider our clients.
Great. Thank you. Now, so it seemed like throughout your presentation, a lot of these tips have helped you yourself. We've all been through just different job searches. What has worked the best for you for managing job search stress?
Wow, that's a great question. I have been through this process. I've been through this process where I've not been happy in a position that I was in because of the environment and wanting to move on. I've been in it where I'm trying to just move laterally, and I've been in it where I'm trying to get to the next, advancing in my field. So I've seen it from a couple different angles, as well as, staying here in Denver and trying to do a cross-country search. So the number one tip I would have, for me personally, was just making this my job and keeping that routine. So on days that I lost that routine, on days that I was feeling down, I wasn't productive. And so maybe it looked like me binge watching on Netflix for a little bit. And just, the days that I woke up, got dressed, had coffee, and started it like it was my full-time job is when I was successful. So I'd say just as much as you can keep it a routine and make it a job, you'll just have um, a better luck with it.
Thank you. Next question. What do you think is a reasonable goal in terms of how long a job search should take, particularly in this current employment environment?
I'm not quite sure what they mean by job search. Is that just like, actively searching online, or like the whole entire process? So I'm going to go with the whole entire process is what I'm thinking. Um, it really depends on your industry and or where you're searching. Denver is definitely a tough market right now, but we do have alumni all over the country. And so, I think it's really important to do some research as to where you are trying to job search, and know that industry a little bit more to set that realistic expectation. But, I do think on average 3 to 6 months something can happen, and that would be my expert opinion, that it would be around 3 to 6 months. Can it happen in a month? Yes. Can it take a little longer than 6 months? Yes. I'd say that if you're getting worried, get in here and or use some of those resources that I talked about. Go to a workforce center, get networking. But if you're doing everything you can, 3 to 6 months, I think.
And I would add, I think you're right. I want to emphasize that you want to be doing a multifaceted approach, right? So I know people who have worked in the past and they're just sending emails off, right? But they're not doing the whole multifaceted approach. And it's going to take longer if you're not networking, if you're not getting out there. Um, so it is important, like you said, Sarah, to do all that you can uh, to make sure. Um,
Yeah, one of the things I always tell people, which is so cliche, but I think it's so true, is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. And so that's, don't be applying only through one website. Don't be just hoping that you get the job, the one job. You've got to be applying to multiple jobs. As I mentioned before, you might be applying to 60 jobs. So be doing that. Don't just do a handful, and be utilizing all resources that you can be.
yeah. Another thing, like you said, it's so important. And you people in your office, the specialists in there, I mean, you really work with people where they are, right? So it can be different for someone who's searching out of state. It's someone higher level that you are, could take longer. Or maybe because you're more connected, maybe it gets shorter. Who knows? But I think it's great that you guys really offer targeted help for people in their specific situation.
I'm sorry, I lost you, Jennifer. Could you
Oh,
say that again?
sorry, I was just putting it wasn't really a question. I was
Okay.
just emphasizing that you and your colleagues in the career office really offer people targeted help for their specific situation, which is going to make the difference. So people
Absolutely.
reach out.
Yes, thank you.
So next question is, what resources do you offer for older displaced workers looking for
Looking for what?
an encore career?
Okay. Yeah, so that would be that career management piece that we have here. And so we would maybe do some assessments with you to learn a little bit more about, you and what you're looking for. And then, providing you with strategies to leverage what you are looking for. So just the career management resource would be really helpful, and talking one-on-one with a counselor. In my opinion, it's going to be more than one time.
So that's just a good point of clarification that you are willing and do meet with people more than once.
Absolutely, yeah. So as I mentioned, alumni have services for free and forever, and it's unlimited. And so, we can meet with somebody one time, we can meet with them 20 times and or more.
Great. I want to quick go back to one of the tips that I think you said was stay positive, and I think that it sounds so simple, and we all know it's not necessarily. So I don't know if you could kind of revisit that for a second, and how maybe more specifics about how to stay positive. I mean, partly to recognize that this is going to take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. It is really easy to say and was easy for me to put up on a slide. And so I'm glad that you're asking for clarification on that. And I think, finding what works for each person is going to be important. I think having a accountability partner is a really good way to help stay positive. And so in the past, I have asked a friend of mine to be that accountability person, and I told them what I needed. And so, I told them that I did not need somebody to tell me it'll be okay. You'll find something eventually. You'll find that fit. Like that kind of language was not helpful for me. And so, what I did tell them was, I need you to remind me of what my strengths are. I need you to remind me to smile. I need you to remind me to go run for a day. And so on those times, they were there to help me stay positive. And then what I did for myself was write those things down so that when I needed to access it, I did. And that I find has helped me stay positive when I was going through the process. Um, and so I just would encourage everyone to really analyze that and think about that. What would help you stay positive? Is it listening? Do you have a pump up song? Do you have words of affirmation you can give yourself and say to yourself, a motto, a mantra? I've seen people write things in a mirror, and that's what they look at every morning. I love that.
Yeah, because I think it's too easy to get into that negative speak, right?
Yes.
And we can be our harshest critics, and a job search is all about rejection, right? I mean, the job searchers are rejecting some jobs because they're not applying, and people who are applying to jobs get rejected too. And so it's hard. I mean, it can be hard to kind of climb out of that at times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I like the idea of an accountability partner, um, and being concrete and overt with what you need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But you have to be able to identify that first for yourself.
Exactly.
Because if not, you're going to get the cliche sayings, and you're going to, people want to help. People want to help you feel better. But sometimes that's not always what you need. So tell them what you need.
Great. In terms of, can you repeat, and I know it's online, but can you repeat the phone number and the website one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Center for Career and Professional Development can be reached at 303-458-3508. And our website is www.regis.edu/CCPD. And you can access all of our resources on there. That's how you can schedule appointments. You can call us to schedule an appointment. One other amazing resource that we have in our Career Center is drop-in hours. So those are 3:30 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday. And those hours are set for like quick questions or a quick resume review. So they're generally 10 to 15 minutes. So maybe you just wanted to test the waters. You just wanted to see what this was like. But what I love about it is you don't have to actually drop in. Our drop-in hours are also, you can call in and say, hey, I want to be seen. You can request us to Skype you. So we still really are able to access people all over the world.
Great. And I have a feeling you're going to get some follow-up from that. So hopefully I would really encourage people to do that. We actually don't have any more questions. So I'm going to start wrapping up now. But if you do have a question, please feel free before I get to the end. But I wanted to give you some information, everyone who's attending. So please hang in there just for another minute. Uh, First, though, I want to thank you, Sarah, for sharing your expertise and insights with us and some of your own personal experiences. I think that was really helpful to see we're not alone, when we go through job searches, and it can be tough for everybody. So thank you for offering those tips. Thank you, everyone who attended and participated. I hope it was helpful. Tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email with a link to the YouTube channel so you can see this webinar recording or others. Uh, you will also receive a quick 5-question survey. Please do respond. We need to know how we can continue to offer you webinars of interest and how we can help you. I'm pleased to share that the December webinar will be focusing on using imagination in prayer and led by one of our Jesuits here, Father Pat Quinn. It's scheduled for Thursday, December 13th from noon till 1 Mountain Time. You can find more details about that webinar and other activities at the Regis calendar, which I will also be sending out in an email tomorrow. So please do stay tuned, look for that email. Thank you, everyone. Good luck with your job searches. And thank you. Someone just shared just a comment. Thank you. And that's it for today. So thanks again to everyone. And I'll be ending the webinar. And have a